Which authority is triggered here to justify the use?
I don't know. You just read it yourself, and people can listen themselves, but it sounds like all three to me.
I know that I talk about unearned ignorance all the time, a lot. And there's a lot of people who really put this on display in the Republican Party, a lot. People who have been appointed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump himself, it's unearned arrogance. They act like they're brilliant when they are some of the stupidest individuals. They act like they are brave when they are the most cowardice, just on full public display. And Pete Hegseth is really, if he's the tip of the spear of anything, it's not being a warrior, it's not being a patriot, it is being just a meritless, straight white man who got his job through connection, not because of what he has accomplished. And yesterday there was a hearing in the House of Representatives, and I have two clips for you. One is Betty McCollum, who's asking specifically a question about the budget, specifically why they are there. It's the purpose. It's the legislative purpose of this hearing. And she's asking him, how much did it cost to deploy these troops? How much? In an era where Donald Trump acts like we don't have enough money to run the government, we have to fire tens and tens of thousands of federal employees. We have to cut back because of fraud, waste, and abuse. They let Elon Musk go wild. And she wants to know, how much did this cost? Since things are so tight, things are so Spartan, how much did it cost? He didn't want to answer the question, so he filibusters arrogantly, not shutting his mouth. My problem is, and I'll talk about it a little later, is that instead of saying, hey, stop. Hey, Pete, shut your fucking mouth. You're now on our turf. You're now in a co-equal branch of government that has a legislative and constitutionally mandated role of oversight. You will answer our questions. They don't do that. They let him grandstand. They let him filibuster. That's my one critique. But watch him not want to answer the question and just puff up like he's some kind of a monkey in a zoo trying to make himself look bigger and stronger. Pete Hegseth.
What is the current cost for what is taking place in California, and how is it going to affect this budget or the budget we're currently serving under? How much are these deployments going to cost for both the Marines and the National Guard? And what training or duties are not taking place because of these deployments? Where in your limited budget, sir, are you going to find, in the remainder of this fiscal year, are you going to pull the money to cover these deployments? What holes are being created?
Well, Congresswoman, thank you for the question. You are right. We are both originally from Minnesota, which is why I recall 2020 quite well, when Governor Walz abandoned a police precinct and allowed it to be burned to the ground, and also allowed 5 days of chaos to occur inside the streets of Minneapolis. The police precinct, ma'am, was abandoned and burned to the ground. And because of that, the National Guard was eventually far too late mobilized. And President Trump recognizes a situation like that, improperly handled by a governor, like it was by Governor Walz, if it gets out of control, is a bad situation for the citizens of any location. So in Los Angeles, we believe that ICE, which is a federal law enforcement agency, has the right to safely conduct operations in any state and any jurisdiction in the country, especially after 21 million illegals have crossed our border under the previous administration. ICE ought to be able to do its job, whether it's Minneapolis or Los Angeles.
I have limited time. I asked a budget
and they
question. Could the Secretary please address the budget? Thank you.
You asked about the situation in Los Angeles, and we believe ICE agents should be allowed to be safe in doing their operations, and we have deployed National Guard and the Marines to protect them in the execution of their duties, because we ought to be able to enforce immigration law in this country, unlike what Governor Walz did in 2020.
Not answering the question, not getting to the answer. By the way, the answer is $134 million, which when you add $134 million to the already idiotic amount of $100 million for Donald Trump's birthday parade, we're talking about nearly $250 million while they shut down USAID, while they murder children with AIDS across the globe. But Donald Trump will get his $100 million parade, and Pete Hegseth will spend $134 million of your money, of my money, deploying Marines illegally, deploying the National Guard illegally to California. And that's where this next clip comes in. Pete Aguilar asked about this. He asked about there are three. Well, first he asked about the budget. We'll get to that. You can hear for your own ears that it's $134 million.
From my office, because I care that much about the California Guard and the Marines and the men and women who are supporting our ICE agents on the ground.
You should check
It's
with your
true
office.
every day, and that's a disingenuous attack that misrepresents how much we care about our troops and what they're doing to defend ICE agents. I'm not going to take the fact that we don't care about the troops. Nobody cares more about the troops at the top than this secretary and the chairman and our
How long will
department.
the deployment last?
We stated very publicly that it's 60 days because we want to ensure that those rioters, looters, and thugs on the other side assaulting our police officers know that we're not going anywhere. We're here to maintain the peace on behalf of law enforcement
Secretary,
officers in Los Angeles,
appreciate
which
you
Gavin
answering the
Newsom
question.
won't do.
What is the estimated cost of the deployment for the Guard and the Marines to LA, and where's this funding coming from? Will it be coming from quality of life programs that affect our service members or our families? If you want to wait till I finish
Before
my
I hand it to-
question, such as updates, housing and barracks.
Before I hand it to Bryn, the insinuation that we're pulling money from housing and barracks in order to fund this is disingenuous and incorrect.
I'm just asking.
Bryn can give you the numbers, absolutely.
So the current estimated cost is $134 million, which is largely just TDY costs, travel, housing, food, et cetera.
All right, we got the $134 million out of the way. Now that it's been verified, a quarter of $1 billion between the parade and this. Now Pete Aguilar goes into what I was talking about earlier, the predication for Donald Trump sending, federalizing the National Guard, deploying United States Marines against citizens in California. And this was the unearned, arrogant answer from Pete Hegseth as he makes it. When I was in the Marine Corps, there was a phrase talking about you got to keep your bearing. Don't lose your bearing. Don't show your emotion on your face. And he is just a petulant child, a pouty little whiny weakling in this hearing as he acts like he's the one in control. He was not. Watch this exchange again from Pete Aguilar and Pete Hegseth.
With the most recent deployment of the Marines, Mr. Secretary, what's the justification for using the military for civilian law enforcement purposes in LA? Why are you sending war fighters to cities to interact with civilians?
Every American citizen deserves to live in a community that's safe, and ICE agents need to be able to do their job. They're being attacked for doing their job, which is deporting illegal criminals. That should happen in any city, Minneapolis or Los Angeles. And if they're attacked, that's lawless, and President Trump believes in law and order. So he has every authority, and he has done mobilizing National Guard or active duty troops under U.S. code to protect federal agents in their job, which is exactly what we're doing, and we're proud to do it. We're proud to do it.
10 U.S.C. of the U.S. Code 12406 as a legal basis that the president used cites 3 examples and circumstances for the Guard: invasion by a foreign nation, rebellion or dangerous rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. Which authority is triggered here to justify the use?
I don't know. You just read it yourself, and people can listen themselves, but it sounds like all 3 to me. If you've got millions of illegals and you don't know where they're coming from, they're waving flags from foreign countries and assaulting police officers and law enforcement officers, that's the problem.
The laws of the United States?
No, the governor of California is unable to execute the laws of the United States.
The president, you said all
The
3
governor
apply.
of the California has failed to protect his people, along with the mayor of Los Angeles, and so President Trump has said he will protect our agents, and our Guard and Marines are proud to do it.
The law also says, Mr. Secretary, that the orders for these purposes shall be issued through governors of the states.
You and I both know that President Trump has all the authorities necessary, and thankfully he's willing to do it on behalf of the citizens of Los Angeles, on behalf of our ICE agents, and behalf of our country.
We've also pulled $1 billion for the border as well. So this just goes into the same fund, 134. What did
Congressman,
you
what's
indicate, 134 million? I was asking Ms. McDonald.
Okay.
Well, in the Battle of the Petes, I think we know it was Aguilar who came out on top in this. It even ends on a sour note with Pete Hegseth. Look, when he says, I don't know, that's where he should have stopped. You don't know, Pete. You don't know. You are not. You are acting contrary to your oath to the Constitution that you swore when you were active duty in the Army, and you're acting contrary to it now again after you swore it again when you were sworn in as the Defense Secretary. There is no invasion. Ask yourself this if you're out there watching. Are you going to the grocery store? Are you carrying on with life? Are you bringing your kids to school or to daycare? Are you going to doctor's appointments? Or are you huddled in your home for fear of the invading horde that is here to take over the country in such a manner that we need troops in the streets to prevent that invasion? It's a lie. It's nonsense. Or the president is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. So Pete Hegseth is saying that Donald Trump is so feckless, so weak, so just ineffectual as a president that he can't execute the laws right now. That's how much chaos there is, that the federal government doesn't work. I thought Donald Trump had cleaned up all the problems and solved everything. I thought we were back on track, winning again, right? Oh, you're going to get tired of winning. The problem, part of the problem here is that we don't have enough leadership in Congress on the Democratic side of things to do exactly what I said earlier, which is you shut him down when he starts doing his filibuster thing. When he starts answering a question that was not asked of him, you say, that's not why you're here, be quiet. Be quiet when you're in the presence of this committee that is a constitutional mandate of oversight over your actions, over your department. We provide the money, Pete Hegseth, if you don't understand the order of things in the United States as outlined in the Constitution of the United States, the document to which you swore an oath. I'm going to leave it there. I think there's a lot to talk about here. We can do it in the comments. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. I am late for my train heading back to DC from New Jersey. I'll be back in studio tomorrow. Well, I'll have a proper studio with proper lighting. I won't look like Gollum in a maroon sport coat, a burgundy sport coat. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. Keep your head on a swivel. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.